everyone, welcome to Criterion Connection. I'm Joe.
And I'm Wade, and today we're talking... No, I'm not Wade. I am Scott. As you know, every once in a while, I pop in to do a review, usually for the fun movies, the cool movies, basically the ones that I look at and say, I think I've heard of that one, or, yo, that'd be pretty cool. And today is no exception, because, Joe, we're tackling...
Shaft.
That's right. Shaft, 1971. Richard Roundtree, right? Is that his name?
I believe so.
Okay, I always know the Roundtree. I always forget his first name. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments. Joe, what can you say? This is like probably the most iconic film of black cinema. Fair to say.
For the blaxploitation, yeah.
Genre. I mean, this kind of like made it a thing. Like, I think this was the movie that all blaxploitation movies aspired to be.
There was this. Superfly was around the corner. Dolomite comes along later. This is one of the early ones. This is set. It set the table. We have a young black male protagonist, a largely black cast dealing with those racial issues at the time, and it's basically tackling the subjects, but it's not pushing anything way too far. It's showing things as they are.
Right, and the thing that I liked, and when I say like they kind of play with it, is you have the relationship between Vic and Shaft.
Yep.
Who, Vic, he's clearly like, if Shaft is like bordering that line between like, the quote unquote crime world and the police world, he's kind of like, I wouldn't say he's that level of Shaft, but he's like, if Shaft is 50-50, he's like 75-25 to an extent. Not that he's into the crime, but like, he's a much more open-minded guy, like a lot of times when he's trying to get information from Shaft, he's not, like, as he put it, he's not asking for names, he's not asking for places, he just wants to know what's going on. As he put it, he wants to know the name of the game so he can figure out the rules.
Yeah, and I love the relationship they have.
Oh, absolutely.
Here's the weirdest thing. To me, it's very Batman Lieutenant Gordon.
I can see where you're going with that.
Where Shaft he's a private detective, but he's very chaotic good. He's very willing to bend the rules to do the right thing.
Well, you see, he's not...
Vic realizes that.
Well, yeah, but you see, because the thing about Shaft is he's the kind of character, he's not very, no pun intended, he's not very black and white. You could say Shaft is a complicated man.
Yeah.
And the only person who really understands him is his woman. Fair to say.
Fair? Yeah, that's fair.
Even though she's barely in the movie.
Barely in it.
Everybody in this movie, the one thing I love about this movie, and you could argue it was kind of indicative of just like that era, was you had a lot of people who just really fit the idea of like what these characters like. If somebody described some of these characters like this is more or less what you would conjure up in your mind.
Yeah, really great like casting and finding like people who look and kind of exude the archetypes that they represent.
Right. And the best part and the best part of it all is like, unlike movies today where it always seems like they want to make sure to hire like the biggest stars or the prettiest people. I'm not saying anybody in this movie is ugly by any stretch of the word. I'm just saying. But like the fact that everyone felt like a real person. Everybody felt like you could see that person walking down the street, or you could see that person at a restaurant or hanging out somewhere. And that's, I think, helps with a lot of these older movies more so. And this movie without question, because with the way the neighborhood areas are set up, there is a lot of that connection between people. Like pretty much everyone knows who Shaft is. Like he's not, as he put it, he's not a hard man to find. Everybody just knows who he is. They know what he's about. And when you cast like that, it makes that kind of stuff way more believable.
And I think what a great connection that we can make with this is kind of a new generation of the noir movie. It takes it to another level.
Right.
and it explores a different kind of underground community,
Right.
Being focused on the marginalized, like African American and the gay community at that time.
Absolutely.
And if you sit there and you watch it and you kind of go through a lot of those noir tropes, it just starts hitting every single one. And even better is the soundtrack from Isaac Hayes. Incredible soundtrack.
Yeah, say what you will about him towards the end, but goddamn, the dude could make music like nobody's business.
This film, like, it just... There's not really very much weak points in it.
No.
It's well cast. The dialogue, instead of that 40s stylized noir dialogue,
it's updated like 70s.
It's that 70s
slang.
slang.
Yeah.
Just taken up a notch. And
you eventually pick up on it. Like, even if you're not familiar with what a lot of what they're saying means. Because there's some of it that even, like, I'm not, obviously I wasn't even born in the 70s, but I know a little bit of the kind of slang they were using. But then they were saying some other stuff that I didn't know what they were talking about. But you pick it up. It's kind of like, compare it to, say, a movie like A Clockwork Orange.
Right.
Where it kind of has its own, they have their own language. More so in the book than the movie, but there's still that part of it where, like, you may not know what the hell they're saying in certain situations with the words they choose, but you kind of pick up where they're going. And I think this movie, honestly, better than A Clockwork Orange. It knows how to do that.
It was fantastic. It really is.
It is. And not only that, but this is such a badass movie. Like, there's not a lot of fighting. There's not a lot of it, but when it happens, it's so good. Like, like you got like the opening fight scene in his office with Bumpy? With Bumpy's two henchmen. And I do kind of wonder, like, if everybody would have just played... It's kind of funny, because if everyone would have just played it cool, that fight, it wouldn't happen. But, like, it's so good. And my favorite thing about it is... They're always talking about, like, either, like, Shaft's, like, trying to say, like... Yeah, and then he threw the guy out the window, and then they're all like, "No." Then they're all like, "No, Shaft threw him out the window." It's like, no, the dude went to go after Shaft, and he missed. Pure and simple.
It really is an enjoyable movie, and I think it's a great gateway into that corner of cinema of the 60s and 70s.
Absolutely.
And it really, like, it's fun, but it's not parody. It's serious, but it's not, very, like,
it knows
heavy with it.
It knows when to be serious. It knows when to be funny, but at no point does it go over the edge in a good way.
And I guess what's left to say is, Scott, would you recommend this? And how do you feel about possibly watching either the remake or the sequel?
Well, it was more of a reboot, because he actually does reprise his character in those movies. So, yes, I would recommend it. This is a great movie for anybody. Quick side note: all the years of watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Will bringing up Shaft every once in a while really had me like, all right, I want to watch this. I'm really, and I gotta say, Will Smith, if you're watching, I got a reason for you not to hit me. You were right. I'm so glad that you put the interest in me to watch the movie. Yes, I'm willing to watch the two sequels. Yes, I'm willing to watch the TV show. There was a TV show. I will watch both. I didn't know there was a 2019 one, and that one's really interesting because you've got, so in the first one, obviously you got the original Shaft. The second one, you've got the original Shaft, and then I guess Samuel L. Jackson plays his son. And then there's a 2019 one where Shaft is a grandfather, and then Samuel L. Jackson is his dad, and then I think, I don't know who plays him, but I think his name's like J.J. Shaft. And he's the new Shaft. So there's 3 generations in there. So yes, I will. It made me want to watch the sequels, the TV show, what have you. This is just a great movie. It's a good time for anybody. You don't have to be a movie person. This is one you can just put on and just have a good time and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it's a great film. I think it's an enjoyable film, and it's one of those films that it's like I sit there and I think, man, it took this long.
Yeah.
It took this long to come out. All right. But, we've rectified the situation, or Criterion has rectified the situation. Shaft's now on the collection. Go pick it up.
Yeah. And if they put the sequels on there, you best believe we're touching those too. I doubt it, but we will if they do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna watch them anyway.
So, last thing is just let you know that you should subscribe. You should like the video if you like it. Leave a comment. Engage with us in any way you want. Give us some recommendations. What other things that we should check out, both Criterion and not. Let's start a dialogue. It's always fun. And I guess for Mint Condish, I'm Joe, and
I'm Scott. And before we sign out, piggyback off him. No trash.
Okay. See you later.
Serious.